All right, everyone, it is time. The dice have been rolled and it has been settled. Um, it's a bloodbath, basically, right, Sam?
Yes, and
let's
not
dispense with
not 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 an
formalities.
equal not
So,
not an equal bloodbath. A give and take, as it were. It was a little bit of a one-sided smashing. Uh,
yes, we're gonna get into it, but we might as well just dispense with some of the formalities that let's just it I won, and we're gonna talk about that. We're not gonna spend so much time on the battle report. We want to actually just kind of this is more playtesting, so just keep that in mind. The battle report is gonna be we're just gonna run through that pretty quick. All right, so just some details: 3,000 points, 5 objectives. This was a competitive list challenge. We don't want to spend too much time on the lists because we did that as a previous video. We're playtesting the new edition. Just so you know, we did build this for 3.0, but some things changed last minute for 3.1 the night before. So we did make some small changes. For instance, Sam dropped all his spears and just gave them great weapons since the spears aren't nearly as effective. This is just covering my list that I had.
no,
This
this is my list.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Sorry. This is Sam's list. His three high champions on war duty. His Harbinger of Havoc, which is basically a ambushing demon. He's got two realm defenders at caster two. Both of them are in the foot knights. Um, two 5-man squads of errants, some Drake centaurs at 6. He's got two Grail knights. He's got the Grail relic, and he's got the Chimera. All right, let's look at my nonsense lists. So, Sam, you originally gave this thing a 4 to 5 on dirtiness scale. After you've played
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
what are you rating it now?
I'm having to eat some crow here. I underestimated it. I underestimated especially the level 3 casters and the plus movement spell very significantly. And the ability to stack buffs in such a way that it was pretty devastating. So I
Hmm.
think I'm adjusting this up to a 7 or an 8.
I think
I
so, right.
I
7 or
think
8 is
that
where
there's
I would
there's
put it. Yeah,
yeah.
I think that for model's sake, I definitely could have got this up to a 9 or 10. And so this list could certainly be refined to be even more disgusting. Let's go through it real fast. High champion on Pegasus. Now he has this has the war duty. I'm sorry, he's the one on the horse. So real quick thing here, I do have the I put this guy on a Pegasus, but what happened is whenever I saw 3.1 came out, I actually redid the army to basically add in some more units of militia. Because actually, the new rules, the 3.1 rules loosening up the force organization, would have made this army even worse because I actually would get more activations. So
Yeah.
what I did is I made that army, but then I was like, well, I'm just going to play the original one. And what happens in the game is I actually don't play with the Pegasus and I play with the horse. So you're going to notice that in the game. Basically, I'm playing 60 points down. So just keep that in mind. Two level 3 casters. I've got a 10-man peasant levy, 20-man men at arms, 3 foot guards, all armed like Sam's with those great weapons. I've got the two 20-mans on fanatics, 2 Grail Knights, Pegasus Knights, which are just disgusting. I've got a Grail Relic like Sam. I got the Griff Knights. Again, I probably would have played, and it's funny. I think I was completely correct. You don't play Griff Knights in this army. You just do double Pegasus Knights. So, yeah, all right, so just for clarity's sake, we're going to go through it. So I've got my spearmen on the bottom left. I've then got my 3 units of foot knights. Those are on the top left, and those 3 10-mans. My chariots. So those Griffin chariots, that's actually a 6-man squad of Griff riders. I end up just adding dice to them. So I've got some dwarves for Age of Fantasy on these bear riders. I'm putting together Pegasus Knights, but I don't have them ready yet. So it's the dwarves that are being the Pegasus Knights. Again, the bottom, that dwarf king, I actually don't play him because I forgot. I actually end up playing double horse. And then right beside them are my 2 mages. The war duty is the mounted guy in the center. Just going forward, we've got the 20-man squad of furious mobs. I've got my 10-man Grail Knights, and then there is my Grail like right here. So that's just my leaders. Again, you're not going to see that dwarf. You're going to see 2 mounted heroes. For Sam, he's running his Eagles. These are the hippogriffs. And then he's got his 10-man squad of foot knights with a mage that's on the bottom right. This figure here, I forgot what it's called, but it's a kind of a giant figure. This is his deep striking harbinger. He's got his chimera in the top left. He then has so these are his two others. Again, these winged creatures here. These are his two other hippogriffs. The over there, the shrine in the top right, that's his Grail relic. He's got a 10-man squad of foot knights with his other mage. The centaurs are the Drake centaurs, and then he's got his cavalry units on the far right. Some of them are on bases. So I just wanted to show that again. We're gonna briefly
His army is prettier and more put together than mine, but you know.
Well, and just so you know, Sam did this last minute, and we really wanted to just play with what we had. This is about playtesting. So yeah, we're going to run through the battle report pretty fast. We mainly want to focus on some key points. I'm just showing you the terrain that we've set up. We made a point to set this terrain up pretty balanced because that's how a tournament would be. They would be kind of balanced terrain. So you're going to notice that a lot of the terrain features are kind of equally distributed out in both sides. So that's just showing you the field. That's our objectives. So you can see we had 5. One goes in the center, and then we've got the 2 over here. The objectives are also pretty balanced, right? Basically 2 on each side, Sam, and then 1 in the middle, towards the far left. So the objectives also are pretty balanced.
Yes.
And that's just our setup here. So again, you're going to notice here that I've got my pikes on the far left. And these spears are really just meant to hold off this objective and keep it. And I'm primarily focusing a lot of my forces in the top. So is Sam. Sam does have some speed here. But as we're going to see in the game, I'm just faster. So we'll just run through. This is just my setup where I've kind of got my Pegasus Knights on the back. I've got my cavalry right here. The force doesn't bother me because I actually can just move past it. And then here in the center, you can see my Grail relic, and then surrounded by all these figures. Again, I'm just protecting the Grail relic. On the far right, that's the pikes. And on turn 1. All right, so let's just run through this. Turn 1, Sam. Sam can opine when he can, but so turn 1, he moves up one of his hippogriffs and he war duties up, or he dark marches up the Drake centaurs. And then afterwards, his hippogriff actually just moves here. Again, he's staying outside of 12 and even outside of 16, but it's not really going to matter. I move up my peasants. So now this is another strategy in the game that happens, right? I have a lot more activations than Sam. So I have a lot of trash activations, basically. So I move these guys up. He then moves up his foot knights, and the mage in there gives them +1 to hit. That's just notated by this little icon here. I then move up my Furious Mob in the center. He moves up his second unit of foot knights, and he actually gives the errants +1 to hit. That's that on them. I move up my spears. He moves up his Grail relic and gives the errant knights and gives the other knights the +1 attack. So you can see here that Sam's got a similar strategy to mine in that he's moving up and he's souping up some of his units. I then move up one of my mages who has she has 3 tokens. I use one of those tokens to give the Furious Mob on the far right +1 to hit. So that's just them.
Little spoiler alert, I don't think my foot knights did not get a chance to actually use those buffs.
No, and we will show that, and it's so yeah, exactly. I'm just, again, because I have a lot more drops than Sam, I can basically prepare for whatever he's doing. The moment he moves, I have enough trash drops that I can just kind of wait him out. I can force him to move first and then know, okay, this is where I need to put this buff. This is what, right? Because I just have more drops than him. So he does charge his errants. Remember, they do have +1 to hit, and they have +1 attack. They do some damage to the militia mob.
They kind of underrolled really too. That was not picking up the militia there was kind of
Well, yeah, no, this is
Unfortunate.
the Furious Mob. So there is 20 man strong. Now, but the thing is that he kills them. I actually pass my morale because, again, these guys have Fearless. They're much better with Fearless now. So the Fearless buffs really help them. In response, I charge one of my Foot Knights. And remember, there's only 3 left because they did kill them. So I kill the remaining 3 and then I just back off. He moves up his Grail Knights on the far right. At this point, yeah, I move my 2 mages. Again, I've seen enough of Sam what he's going to do. They use their other. Remember, she has 2 cast tokens. She has 3. They use 5 to cast the level 3 to give +6 move. I put it on the Pegasus Knights and I put it on the Militia Mob that I just souped up as well. So one of the things
the fanatics.
yeah, the fanatics. One of the things to keep in mind is those majors are in the far back. Like Sam just can't get to them. And I have an 18-inch range on that +6 move. So there's just very little counterplay, right? Sam, you can't get to those 2
No,
majors.
I can't get to the 2 units. And since the Pegasus Knights can fly, they're gonna be able to, and you'll see he'll be able to just kind of pick 2 things at the very, like, he
Yeah.
can save his activations, and he's just gonna pick 2 things to delete
Yep.
when he wants to do that.
Yep. He moves up his knights. I move up my Foot Knights. Again, I'm just really using my trash drops here, right? Not only do I want to pick up those 2 units, Sam, but I want to do it after you've moved everything so you can't respond to it, right?
Yeah.
I move up my Foot Knights. He moves out his errants off this difficult terrain and just out of range of me. Again, I'm souping it up again. Here's my Grail Relic. So remember, these Peg Knights already have +6 to the move. So now I give them +1 attack on the charge. And we also give the other cavalry over there +1 attack as well. That's these guys. So I give both of my cav units, yeah, +1 attack on the charge. Yeah, he charges his errants into my those other errants, they got dark marched up. So keep in mind that at this point he charges the militia mob. This is the 10-man squad. He does kill them, but that's a 45-point squad. I don't care about that squad. At this point, I send in my Griff Riders around the forest and I kill them and I just turn to face. He moves up his Drake Centaurs. So and again, what's he doing? He's keeping them out of range of the knights. The problem is that I've got war duty as well. So what do? I move up my knights through the forest, and with that 12-inch war duty, I'm able to move the knights in the center who have Pathfinder up 6 inches. Now they're in range of the Drake Centaurs. So now Sam has to use his final Hippogriff to Dark March them back out of range. So, and that's actually a thing that helped you out this game, Sam. You actually had a way to counter it. You just
it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. I mean, it was.
So, and again, at this point, Sam is getting out of activations, especially on the right side. So I just send in my squad of furious mobs with +1 to hit. His mage has a spear. He kills like 2 of them, but that's still like 18 attacks with furious that hit on 4s. So yeah, I just murder the squad.
Yeah, you roll really well there too, but it's still.
I did get some Furiouses off, but I probably would have just heavily mained the squad. Yeah. So I do kill them and I just consolidate. His Chimera moves up and he does breathe on this Furious mob, kills a few more. That's his last activation. So at this point, I'm in free. So with free activations, I send my knights who have Pathfinder or Strider into his other squad of Foot Knights. Kill all of them but the mage, and she is only a 5-up quality, so she runs as well. And then I actually am able to consolidate into cover, so it makes it more difficult for him to charge me. At this point, I just move up the Foot Knights, and so my strategy, this is when, Sam, basically we knew the game was over with, right? It's like
the game was over at this point. You killed both of my casters.
Yeah.
And I basically hadn't touched you at this point.
Yeah.
And it was pretty dire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to get to go first. But
there's just too many threats. There's just too many threats. You can only take out one of them was a problem. Exactly. Yeah. So it's turn 2. Oh yeah. So this is just showing another part of the battlefield. He is coming up my right flank, but I've got this 20-man squad of spears. I don't even care if they waver. I mean, they're they're gonna stop a lot of this impact.
Yeah.
So turn 2. So for Sam, he brings in his Harbinger, and his hope is he's going to try to. He's desperate now. He charges the pegs. So this is when I roll terrible this turn, but it doesn't matter. Like I actually have +1 to hit on them, and actually I only do 1 wound. So he kills like 1 Pegasus Knight, I think. But I do pass my morale because guess what? Those Peg Knights also have Fearless. So again, I actually rolled terrible this round, Sam, but it just doesn't matter.
It didn't matter. Yeah, it was.
So I rolled
I rolled
terrible
pretty
here.
well this round, but the problem is, it was it got into the point where he was going to have 4 or 5 activations after I was done,
Yeah.
and so he just got to basically sit back and move up trash and whatnot, and not really care. And then once I'm active activations, he can just go in and pick up whatever.
Yeah, I can soup up stuff. I can also soup up the units I need to, and then I know exactly what I need to kill. Yeah. All right. So this is the consolidation. He does win, but I stick. I actually here again, I start rolling really bad. I charge my pegs, my Griffin Riders into the Chimera. I roll terrible. I think I only do like 1 or 2 wounds.
Yeah.
He attacks back into me, and I actually waver with Fearless. So I'm actually going to start rolling really bad here. At this point, he sends his leader. He does Dark March. I think he Dark Marks the Drake Centaurs into range of them. And then he charges my Cav. He kills some, but I stick because I have Fearless. So again, this is another absolutely terrible roll. I charge these guys. Remember, these guys are the +1 to attack guys.
Yeah. And you only do I think you only kill like 2.
I only kill like 2. And so again, I actually roll abysmal where I'm hitting you with impact, hitting you with lance with a double attack. Yeah. And then also Sam just rolls great for him. I think I remember I do like actually 10 or so attacks, and he rolls like 8 out of 10 saves. I'd roll like 4-ups.
I did roll really well. This was my turn to roll a whole bunch of armor saves.
Yeah.
But again, it was just not enough.
So this was a terrible roll. I only killed 2. I actually, I think anyway, we basically stick. He sends his Drake Centaurs into my Knights. He kills some, but those guys do have a 3-up armor save, and those Drake Centaurs only hit on 4s. So I don't think he did great with the hitting, and he didn't wipe out the unit.
I rolled really badly on the impact as well. Like they just really didn't. That was the roll I didn't make this turn.
Yeah. Okay, they pass morale again. So I charge my Furious Mob into his guy. I do some wounds. Remember, these guys aren't buffed. So I do some wounds. I actually lose combat, but I stick because these have Fearless now. I do 3 wounds into him. He gives his shrine. He gives the Chimera and the shrine itself +1 attack. Remember, these Griffs are wavered, so he charges into them. He does a couple of wounds. This
I do one wound.
but it also doesn't have great attacks. You're really counting on 6s because
it has the rending. It has the rending.
So I think he gets 1 rending.
It was a risk. It was a pretty much I'm dead if I don't do something. So if I roll really well here, and they're already wavered, I can pop them, but I did not. So
this career, like I would say it isn't too great in combat, but so they're already still wavered. So at this point, the Peg Knights charge this unit. Again, I don't roll great. I do kill like another 5 of them, I think, or 4 or 5 of them. Again, this squad also has +1 to attack on the charge.
Yeah, no, they were on 6s.
I was on 6s. Yeah, I think that was probably it. Anyway, I think I only kill like 4, but he sticks. And I just consult again. We're trying to be a little more careful of the models, so I just go ahead and consolidate a little further away. We just, that's just the models that you have to do that sometimes. Okay. Anyway, that's just another picture here of the Knights. At this point, I rush my spears. So my Furious Mob is in range of those Cav, so I do rush them up to basically protect the Furious Mob. He Dark Marches these Cav back, and he sends his Hippogriff into my Pegs. So these Pegs basically get basically focused down, but they're pretty tough. Armor 4 with tough 3 and Fearless, so it takes a lot to kill them. So I keep on passing my morale because of that Fearless. The
you passed a whole bunch of morale saves in this game because of Fearless.
Yeah, well, Fearless is so good in this army. Like honestly, Chivalrous Kingdom. I'm actually after this game, I'm basically going to say they're an S tier army. They basically have everything they need, and I think that Joust is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, with
Because
this
they
army,
guess like yes, there was some kind of nerfs to impact in 3.0, but quite honestly, it's still very, very good.
especially in Chivalrous Kingdoms, the Joust, I think
Mhm.
the impact nothing, but with Joust, yeah. So yeah, my Grow Relic moves up and gives these two squads +1 attack on their charge. Yeah, he sends his Chimera in and I think he finally kills these Peg Knights. So I think he takes them down to like 2 or 1, and I fail my morale at that point. So and then that's just the Chimera backing off. That's just that one. Yeah, I send my remaining knights into the Grail Relic. I do some wounds, but he sticks. Actually, I do some wounds, but he's still fine. He moves his guy up there and then dark marches up these cav. That's him grabbing the objective. I charge these knights. These guys are already fatigued, these Drake Centaurs, so I do charge my knights into them. I do some damage, and actually I waver them right here. It's not a really big deal to waver because I'm just going to murder them anyway. So the waver's not a big deal. He sends his knights into my spears. The spears kill a couple. He does win combat, and they do waver, but they aren't below 50%, so they're still there. That 20-man, again, being a 20-man squad, that's really good.
Well,
Uh,
in the way they changed phalanx now too
yeah.
means it's kind of back to where it used to be. Yeah, you really can't charge spears
Yeah. He won
with
he won
effectiveness.
combat. Yeah, Sam won combat, but there's still 15 of them left. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're good. The mage moves up and she again remember she has we didn't mark the spell tokens, but she does one spell token to give these furious mob +1 attack.
Or plus one to
Um,
hit. But yeah.
these guys charge into this guy with +1 to hit and +1 attack on the charge. But again, I just roll absolutely terrible. I mean, this is getting close to like 30 something attacks. I only do like 4 wounds on him, and so he's fine. So again, this is another bad roll on my part. Yeah, at this point he's running out of he's out of activation, so I just charge these guys in. They do kill him outright because they have AP3. And then this is the mage. She moves up and she basically casts her +6 movement spell on, I think it's the foot guard. I think it's both of these foot knights up here. One of the ones that's souped up. And again, this is getting back to the stacking of buffs. These guys have +1 attack, +1 to hit, and now they're going to get +6 to their move. And at this point, again, this souped up squad, this is why the waiver didn't matter on these Drake Centaurs, because I sent in this souped up squad to just murder them outright. So they're dead. That should be consolidating. And yeah, that's the end of turn 2. Yeah, it's just really rough for Sam, and there's not a lot he can do. Even with the bad rolls, you can just see I'm just really cleaning up the battlefield here, and that's because I can just hit him without just I get to choose who I buff and I get to choose who I kill. Turn 3. Uh, at this point, yeah, he charges his small squad. He actually continues to roll good. He charges his small squad into my big squad of knights, and actually he rolls good and wavers them. So this squad is wavered. I send my fanatics back into him. Again, I roll terrible. I think I only do like 1 wound and he kills them. They do pass their morale. I'm still rolling bad. He sends his knights into my foot knights. He kills 5 of them. I kill 5 with the banner. I lose, but I stick because again, it's actually a 75% chance. A 4 up from Fearless and then a 4 up with normal quality. So they stick. I send my knights into his heavily wounded Hippogriff and I finally kill him. And then I just consolidate. He sends his Chimera. So these guys are wavered. He sends his Chimera, kills the squad, and because they waver, he takes them below 50%. They're already wavered, so they just automatically run. In response to that, I go ahead and unwaver my Griff Knights. They at 4 now. He dark marches up the Chimera and then charges them. He does like 4 wounds, but they do pass their morale, and they're good. I unwaver my spears. he charges his at this point it's desperation. I think he gives the grow relic and this hippogriff +1 attacks. He charges them. I think he does. Yeah, he does another 1 wound, and I think we do. I think they actually stick because I do 1 wound back.
I think you actually win combat in that one. You do
Yeah,
two
I think
wounds back
something.
on the
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
And this is the mage. The mage moves up and gives this squad. Remember, this squad was the Chimera was about 16 inches away. So seeing the Chimera done with his activation, I cast again 5 of the 6 tokens go to a 2-up. And remember, I can get that +6 movement spell on a 2-up because I spend 5 tokens on it. So I give this squad and I give the other foot knights +1, +6 to their move again. That's the other thing. This +6 move spell isn't just good on cav. It's great on infantry. Gives infantry an 18-inch charge move. So it's wonderful. So both of my foot knights have the +1 attack. Charges my militia mob. He does some damage, but they stick. This is me souping this squad up again. I move the Grail Relic. They already have +6 to their move. Now I give them +1 attack. So already I'm starting to do the whole thing over again, right? I'm souping up a squad. I soup them up and then I do charge into the Chimera. Double, it's 20 attacks on 4's AP3. I do kill the Chimera. And again, so Sam's out of activations. I have an 18-inch move on this Foot Knight squad. I charge his Hippogriff and I kill him. They move. At the end of the turn, yeah, I charge. So both of these units are fatigued. I send my knights. I kill one. I don't lose any, but he has a banner, so they just purely stick. And that's the end of turn 3. And yeah, as you can kind of see, Sam's army, despite great rolls on his part, bad rolls on my part in general. I had some good rolls, Sam, but I would say for the most part, I rolled pretty bad this game.
Yeah, it just didn't matter. I mean,
didn't matter.
it was after turn 1, honestly, it was pretty much it was a pretty hopeless situation.
Yeah, I'm just showing, and Sam can yeah. So this is turn 4, and I'm just going to show you some turn 4. This is why Sam conceded. I mean, we just didn't want to play it. As you can kind of see,
I was going to be tabled. I mean, there was by halfway through turn 4, there was not going to be any models of mine left. So
yeah, when basically we feel the viewers, you get the point, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's rough, man. It's rough.
I dealt with as much abuse as I could.
And that's something that me and Sam, like, it was frustrating for Sam, but also we also feel this is the reason we played this out. This was very valuable, right, Sam? I mean, we've really.
You can see. I think that this game does a good job of highlighting some issues that are going to need to be addressed going forward.
Some issue, yeah, and we don't exactly, Sam, like, we don't want to use this episode. Yeah. Maybe we can possibly come up with some issues. We don't know. But I think this is more about, right, Sam, kind of showing some.
This is identifying some areas. We don't necessarily have the solutions.
Yeah.
But there are some problems that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Because, ultimately, I think both me and Dan really want the game to kind of have a competitive balance, and it seems to be the direction that OPR is trying to maintain. Is let's have a balanced game and whatnot. So we can, we're just going to point out some issues that need to be addressed.
Well, and I want to say this before we start getting into the actual issues. I think one of the things that jumps out to me is that, Sam, was this a fun game to like? I didn't have fun playing this game, Sam.
It was not a fun game.
Yeah.
And that's
really, and I didn't have fun playing the game. I mean, it's so because it was so
one-sided. It was kind of, it was just honestly, and it's just not a fun game.
Well, and it's kind of like, it's so much, again, because I can clog up my opponent's activations. It's not very interactive. It's not very fun because it's kind of like, I'm not even allowing Sam to do anything, right?
Yeah.
Because I
didn't feel like I had any options really.
And that's the sort of thing we're talking about, not just about balance, but games have to we have to give agency to players in this game. Sam
Yes.
really didn't have any agency in this game.
Yeah, it felt very much like, really, especially after turn one, there was really not anything I could do.
No.
And that's one of the big issues with any kind of war game. And we even talked a little about this with our interview with Jacob Hampton, uh, that we did a couple weeks ago. Is perceived balance is an important aspect of balancing
Mm-hmm.
a war game, because ultimately this is a leisure activity. We are all doing this in our free time. We're not professionals. We want to have fun playing the game, and if you want to have fun playing the game, that kind of necessitates certain things within how the
Yeah.
game is balanced.
Well, and it's also people don't mind losing a game if they at least had a if they had a way of fighting or doing something. I've
Yeah,
played a lot of games where I've lost, but you know what? I made mistakes, and also it was just really close. And those are the best games whenever you learn something. But when you have a game like this where basically from an army list forward, like anyway, let's get into some of our learning points here. We won't keep it too long. All right. First of learning point that I think me and Sam both brought this Guerrero Relic, and basically there are other versions of this model. Giving +1 attack, even if they nerf it down to a single unit, giving a unit +1 attack on a charge is extremely powerful.
yeah, it's super powerful because that turns your, you know, even trash units then become
Mhm.
very powerful.
Yeah. The other thing that I think could be an issue is the level 3 spells, especially with movement. I think that these spells with like movement or flying are super powerful because, especially flying, um, you can't protect your units with chaff. Flying unit, and so they have another version of this spell that also gives units flying, and all you need is something fast. That's all you need. Or you can have something fast, and with like in Chivalrous Kingdoms, I have something that both is fast and is flying and is hard hitting, and I can give it a +6 to its move. It's like, ugh. But I think that the kicker on these level 3 spells, they have an 18-inch cast range. And with that 18-inch cast range, Sam, there's nothing you can do
Yeah,
against my
I
mages.
had no way of dealing with that.
Yeah.
And
It
even
doesn't
if I
matter.
had
It didn't
gotten,
matter if the mages were a single wound. Doesn't
yeah,
matter.
and
Yeah.
it didn't matter, and it was like, yeah, I couldn't shut that down. I couldn't even interact with it. Basically, you were able to just sit at the very back of your army and just cast that spell with impunity.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't, and as long as you were, not leaving gaps, I couldn't even ambush the guy into that, and I could have
Yep.
wasn't able to do that anyway because I had to do something else. I didn't, even if I brought some more shooting, there was just there wasn't really any way of getting to that.
Even with the slingshot,
And
we've talked about
yeah,
the slingshot. Slingshot ain't going to do nothing against those guys. They're just going
no,
to be in the back of the
because you
army.
can keep it. Because you can keep it. Because basically, with an 18-inch range, you can keep it outside of the range of any of an enemy or opponent shooting,
Mhm. Certainly not going
and
to be
still
able to
get
get
the
charged.
cast. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're certainly
It's
not going to get charged with my charge range. Just no way, right? I would
mhm.
kill anything. So I think that's a new thing. That's the new thing that I don't know what me and Sam talk. We honestly spitballed some solutions, but we honestly don't know. And I don't have the answer. I
Well, I
would
think I
say,
think I think that we're gonna have to. You're gonna. We're also have to take a look at the armies that get access to level 3 casters, and the spells that they get access to.
I don't
Because
even think the level 3 casters, because I could have brought 3 level 2 casters. It would have cost me 25 more points. It's really more that the certainty, right? I bring
yeah,
enough, I get enough casting tokens. And the other thing is, I think those mages are much better alone in the back, right?
yeah, and
Don't
and
put them
and
in your squads anymore. Keep them in the far back of your army and just buff away,
yeah,
right?
and it's
This makes,
also
by
like
the way, this makes buff spells. Buff spells are significantly more powerful than debuff spells.
yes,
I
because
mean,
debuff
it's
spells,
just,
you're oftentimes not going to be in range to use them.
yeah.
And
Like buff
so
spells are much more powerful.
what you get into, and what we don't what I think both me and Dan don't want the game to become is I'm gonna just my whole game strategy is revolving around I'm gonna cast this spell that's basically turning this unit in, like into a tactical nuke.
Yep.
And then the game it's really just like, okay, well, I'm gonna do that. That's gonna be my whole game plan. That's really kind of a quite honestly, it's kind of a boring way to play, and it's kind of unfun.
It's
It's
Yeah, and we don't know. Like, I don't quite have any answers. I know me and Sam, we're right now we were discussing answers, but we don't know yet.
I
But I
don't
would
know
say
how
it's
you I don't know how you fix that movement speed spell
yeah. We'll give it
without
some thought.
in a way
Yeah.
that's fair. It's not just removing it.
Mm.
Quite
So
honestly, I think removing it is probably
could
the right
be,
answer. But we'll,
could be.
yeah.
Yeah. I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure. I'm
We'll
not sure how you make that in a way
yeah. It's
that's not gonna lead to this kind of scenario where I'm just gonna cast this one level 3 spell to send my tactical nuke flying, and win the game because of that. And
well,
then
it's kind of and we'll get into that. Like, I would say this: the way spells, I didn't quite realize it. It's a different game. Now that spells can be almost guaranteed on a 2-up, it's a different game. It really is, Sam, a different game with
yes,
this new magic system. But
yeah,
let's
and
continue on. We don't let's not hold it too long here. The other thing that we've noted, multiple different buffs. Now they already have rules that the same buff doesn't affect the unit twice, but you can do different buffs on a unit. I put +6 speed, +1 attack, and +1 to hit on a unit. I mean, Sam, that's just a
yeah, it's disgusting.
yeah. So we
And
don't know how to solve it. On it,
yeah,
I don't have an answer just yet, but I say that is very powerful. The multiple different buffs. The other thing is that Dark March, or so we're called War Duty. It's all the same. These spells that move.
not spells, the abilities. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
you're right. I'm sorry. The ability that moves a unit 6 inches
yeah,
is probably, it feels very cheap. I don't know if
yeah.
it's too cheap. It
I
feels very cheap.
I think it could probably go up from 25 to 30 or 35 points and be
Mm,
a little bit more appropriately pointed.
yeah.
There's some
Stalling a
debate in that, but I think that's it. It does seem really powerful, especially in armies that can utilize a lot of having a lot of units to activate.
which goes into our next one. Stalling and this is something that the new army. Look, I'm not saying that change to loosen up the army, the maximum units, was a bad thing. I don't know, honestly. It's too
I'll say
early to
that.
say, and I think it's great that we try it out. But I would say this: that strategy of stalling an opponent through basically trash activations, it's very powerful, and I think that elite armies are really going to suffer. Um, we don't have an answer
I'll
yet.
go out. I'll go out and say it. Dan doesn't want to say it. I will say that I think that the keeping things at a max of 3 of is the better solution. And I think there's probably some things that should be max of 1 of
Yeah,
or 2 ofs because they're just too they're too broken when you can take multiple iterations of it.
we'll have to think. We will. There's honestly so much. I don't know, but anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll be posting follow-ups on this. Always play against us on Universal Battles 2. We're always interested in feedback. Like, subscribe, comment. If you're in Austin, join the Austin Alternative Gaming Freak. Sam, thanks a lot, and Sam,
Thank you.
all right.